This is ABC 7 News at 6.
President Trump wasted no time signing a slew of executive orders, some of them highly controversial. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones.
And I'm Devin Dagnall. President Trump says immigration is a top priority, taking a number of actions to crack down on illegal entry at the border. But as Rena Roy reports, the president is facing a number of challenges to the orders he signed.
President Donald Trump making it clear one of his biggest priorities this second time in office, immigration. Trump declaring an end to birthright citizenship, even though it's protected by the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship to children born in the U.S. despite the citizenship of their parents. Trump facing 4 separate federal lawsuits with 22 states and 2 cities challenging the executive order as flagrantly unlawful.
This is an extreme and unprecedented act. This isn't just an attack on the law. It's an attack on the very fabric of this nation.
Trump's order directs federal agencies to stop issuing citizenship documents next month to children of non-citizens. At the southern border, Trump declaring a national emergency, allowing the Department of Defense to deploy armed forces there and freeing up resources to build a wall. He has also ended use of the border app that allowed asylum-seeking migrants to book appointments. This man saying it feels unfair that they're going to take away my legal passage. When asked if deportations were underway today, Trump border czar Tom Homan didn't answer directly, instead saying this on Fox Business.
The president's been clear, I've been clear that right out of the gate, we're looking for public safety threats. ICE agents are out there doing that now.
The Reverend presiding over the inaugural prayer service Tuesday, asking Trump directly for compassion for migrants.
They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
The president of Mexico saying she'll always work in defense of Mexican nationals living in the U.S. and act with a cool head.
The Mexican government says it's already opening new care centers at key locations in anticipation of many people being sent back to the country. They'll offer resources like health care, basic necessities, and services for reintegration. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Well, as you just heard, some of President Trump's executive orders are already facing multiple lawsuits, including his executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship. And today, Maine joined those challenging that order. Maine Attorney General Aaron Fry announcing he was joining attorneys general from 17 other states in a lawsuit filed in Massachusetts federal court to block the order. This comes on the heels of another lawsuit from the Maine ACLU and other organizations filed Monday night in New Hampshire federal court. The ACLU called the executive order unconstitutional and racist.
It is codified in the 14th Amendment citizenship clause, which specifically provides for birthright citizenship.
Yesterday, on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, President Trump issued a clearly unconstitutional order. And it's also a transparently racist attempt to redefine who is a part of our community and who is entitled to equal protection and equal rights.
Both lawsuits ask federal judges to issue an injunction stopping the order from being implemented while the cases make their way through court. If neither judge grants the injunction, the order will go into effect 30 days after it was signed.
Well, many of the executive orders President Trump signed will have effects at the state level here in Maine. So what do Maine lawmakers think so far? Our Augusta reporter asked them.
Maine Republican leadership was notably absent from both chambers on Tuesday, having attended President Donald Trump's inauguration in Washington, D.C. Lawmakers in Augusta had mixed feelings about Trump's return to the White House.
It's something that is hopefully going to make America great again.
I think it's important to give the president time and his administration some time and to see where everything goes.
President Trump signed an avalanche of executive orders just hours after taking office, some of which either directly or indirectly impact the citizens and state of Maine. Lawmakers say despite what happens in D.C., they're always looking out for the best interest of the state in Augusta.
Well, I've heard from a few people that they're scared about some of these announcements that have been made. I want to say everyone still has their civil rights, and I just want to say that we here in the Maine legislature, we care about all Maine people. We want to make sure that they're protected.
I can't remember all of them. There are too many to count, but I can tell you that the ones that he highlighted were very beneficial to what he's trying to do, and that is kind of roll back some of the restrictions that have been put on Americans.
Well, I'm not sure some of them are going to hold up legally, but we'll have to let the courts make those decisions. But like I said, we have a ways to go to see where things are going to land.
With some of the executive orders, I am most excited about the offshore wind pause to kind of get some more ideas about what that's really doing to the environment. The cost of that we know is very expensive, so if there are other alternatives without harming that natural environment, I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes.
At the State House, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, Senator Susan Collins voiced strong opposition to some of the pardons issued by President Trump, specifically those related to January 6th rioters. She said in a statement, quote, "While I believe some Americans were caught up in the crowd on January 6th and may well deserve the clemency President Trump has given, there is a great difference between violent crimes and nonviolent crimes. I do not support pardons given to people who engaged in violence on January 6th, including assaulting police officers or breaking windows to get into the Capitol, for example," end quote. Senator Collins also voiced opposition to some of the pardons issued by President Biden in the final hours of his presidency, including to members of his own family. She said it's been a, quote, "terrible week for our justice system," and stressed that violence must not be tolerated.
In other news, the trial for a Milford man accused of trying to kill his girlfriend in May of 2023 is underway. At the Penobscot County Superior Court, jurors heard opening statements and then testimony from several witnesses. Our Alex Schley was in court and has more.
Day one in the murder trial of Devon Carter included opening statements and 6 witnesses who took the stand and testified. Carter is on trial for aggravated attempted murder. Prosecutors say he allegedly hit his then-girlfriend with a hammer multiple times. The Milford man is facing multiple other charges, including elevated aggravated assault, kidnapping, and aggravated assault. During opening arguments, Carter's defense attorney, Zachary Frey, told jurors that Carter admitted to attacking the woman, but did not take her life or attempt to take her life.
One of the reasons we know this, as you'll come to learn, is because Mr. Carter, while under zero obligation to do so, and before he was even charged with a crime, did the right thing and told the detectives what he'd done.
Prosecutors, however, argue Carter's actions do meet the criteria to charge him with aggravated attempted murder, as well as the other charges he's currently facing.
For purposes of this case, the big difference between attempted murder and assault is intent. Attempted murder requires the intent to commit the crime of murder.
The prosecution's first 6 witnesses took the stand Tuesday, including the doctors who treated the victim, identified as Tara. They described the severity of her injuries, including shards of her skull splintering and becoming lodged in her eye. Jurors also heard from State Trooper Stephen Day, who assisted in apprehending Carter. The trial is set to resume Wednesday morning. In Bangor, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
All right, well, let's hit pause here. We'll peek outside and get a first look at our forecast.
Thank you very much, Beth and Devin. We start out this morning with some very cold temperatures due to those mostly clear skies and calm winds last night. Around the early morning hours, -13 is what we saw for our low. And if you check up north, Clayton Lake, they were the coldest spot in town. 22 degrees below zero for you guys this morning. A lot of us in the negatives out there across the region. So it was definitely a cold start to this morning. It's going to be like that for tomorrow morning as well. So we can see for highs today, we did get up to 18 degrees, lots of low 20s and some upper teens. In the southwestern portion of the state, we saw 10 degrees in Greenville, 6 degrees for a high in Clayton Lake for today. So it is definitely a cold one up north in the northern portion of the state. But as we see out there, just a few increasing clouds. They're only going to be there, for a brief amount of time this afternoon, and they are going to start to dissipate throughout the afternoon into the evening. And that's when we're going to start to see some clear skies once again and some calm winds for some very cold temperatures. We're going to be seeing those clear skies throughout all of tonight and those lows tonight. It's showing them in the negative single digits, but we're going to be right around -15 degrees for our low tonight. Beth and Devin.
And so the deep freeze continues.
Yeah.
All right, well, coming up on ABC 7 News at 6, our Grace Blanchard was in Corinth to highlight the progress of the state's first mobile mammography unit.
And the Maine State House held a Disability Awareness Day event. We'll have those stories and much more as ABC 7 News at 6 continues.
Winter is a time to get outside and enjoy all that Maine has to offer. And when it's time to come inside, rest assured everything's toasty because of your Fujitsu heat pump from Valley Home Services. The comfort and warmth of home means more on days like these. Push a button and you'll be snuggling up on the couch in no time. Valley Home Services offers reliable rebates, significant energy savings, and expert installation. Embrace the comfort of Fujitsu heat pumps from Valley Home Services. Call or click today. Winter is a time to get outside and enjoy all that Maine has to offer. And when it's time to come inside, rest assured everything's toasty because of your Fujitsu heat pump from Valley Home Services. The comfort and warmth of home means more on days like these. Push a button and you'll be snuggling up on the couch in no time. Valley Home Services offers reliable rebates, significant energy savings, and expert installation. Embrace the comfort of Fujitsu heat pumps from Valley Home Services. Call or click today.
When disaster strikes, who do you call? Penobscot Cleaning Services for smoke and fire damage, water and storm damage, and even nasty mold. Who do you call? Penobscot Cleaning Services for the cleanest carpets, guaranteed. Who do you call? Penobscot Cleaning Services, from cleanup to restoration and everything in between. Wow! Tell your insurance company you want Penobscot Cleaning Services. Visit our website for more info. We'll restore things to normal in no time.
Does your vehicle need a little more work? Have an odd sound coming from somewhere? Bring it over to Jackson's Automotive in Old Town. We have the best technicians and offer a fair price. We also accept all aftermarket protection plans. Now, if you're unable to drive your vehicle to us, we can help you get it here. Also, if you'd like to protect your vehicle for years to come, we offer Wool Wax undercarriage protection. We're located at 546 Main Street in Old Town. Give us a call at 827-2676.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Getting access to preventative health care is a challenge that many in Maine's rural communities face. But since launching the state's first ever mobile mammography unit, Northern Light Health has helped hundreds of Mainers. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
So this is our mobile mammography unit. We were able to acquire the unit through the help of Senator Susan Collins.
Last spring, the Northern Lights CA Dean and Mayo Hospital mammography team began taking their services on the road, traveling to some of the state's most rural areas to provide breast cancer screenings.
The earlier we detect breast cancer in someone, the quicker we can treat that.
It's recommended women start getting annual mammogram screenings once they turn 40. But according to hospital officials, Piscataquis County has the second lowest number of annual screenings in the state.
A lot of that is because people have transportation issues, they have family work commitments that make it hard for them to travel to the hospital. By having the mobile mammography unit, we're able to bring those screenings directly to them.
So this is our Hologic 3D unit. It is the same as at the hospitals.
Since launching the mobile unit, they have helped approximately 250 women across Piscataquis, Somerset, Waldo, and Penobscot counties gain access to this critical testing.
I think that we've gotten people to come in that really needed their screening mammogram, and I don't think that they would have gone further or seeked out that screening in a medical setting.
Until now, screenings have been appointment only. But with the mobile unit, they can now offer a walk-in option that they hope to see women across the entire state take advantage of.
So we're looking forward to this spring of being able to go even further north and further south with our unit.
In Corinth, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Disability Awareness Day was held at the State House today. Advocates from Disability Rights Maine and other organizations got the opportunity to meet with lawmakers and help educate and inform legislators about issues impacting Mainers with disabilities.
I think Disability Awareness Day is really important because so many of our fellow humans in the world live with disabilities, and often they're invisible. Like myself, I live with mental health challenges, and they're invisible. And so this day really highlights the work that people are doing around disability advocacy, as well as sharing their lived experience.
Malin says that while a lot of policy improvements surrounding disabilities have been made in our state in recent years, there is still much more work to be done.
Well, still to come on ABC 7 News at 6, our Jody Hersey was in Winterport to highlight how a community is making a better future for all through volunteerism.
And in sports, Cooper Flagg's dominant outing at Boston College was just one of several big games for the Duke freshmen this season. That story is right after the break.
Get this low mileage lease on this 2025 Cadillac XT5 for around $499 per month. Visit Court Cadillac in Bangor.
Your favorite restaurants were half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday this summer.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
It's the Furniture Gallery's anniversary sale. Celebrate with us and save big. Queen mattresses as low as $198. Want to recline? Recliners start at just $298. Or upgrade to a power recliner for just $398. Reclining sofa and recliner, just $998. The Furniture Gallery anniversary prices don't stop there. Refresh your living room. Sofas starting at just $448. Complete your bedroom, 5-piece set for only $898. Support our main family-owned business and save money. The Furniture Gallery.
Do you have a wet basement, nasty crawl space, settling foundation, sinking concrete, or clogged gutters? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basement-y. For over 30 years, thousands of homeowners throughout Maine and southeastern New Hampshire have trusted TC Hafford. Basement waterproofing, crawl space repair, stabilizing foundations, concrete leveling, and gutter installation. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basement-y.
Put a little more cash in your bank. Save money with half-off deals at foxbangor.com.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Down at Boston College this weekend, Cooper Flagg put on a show in Duke's closest game to Maine this season, and his dominant performance is something we've been getting used to all year since he suited up with the Blue Devils.
You know, I thought for Coop, by the way, what a special turnout. We've been here a lot. The representation of Duke fans has always been great. This was, I think, the best I've ever seen it. I think a lot of it has to do with Maine. And obviously he backed it up with his play.
For the first time since last January, Newport's Cooper Flagg was back in New England, taking the court in front of hundreds of fans from Maine at Boston College on Saturday. Some even coming all the way from Aroostook.
I think all the way back to sometime last year, there was people talking about coming to this game. So for me, it was more of just a blessing to be able to come out and see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd and people I knew. It just gave me more confidence than anything.
Cooper's 28 points helped Duke to their 12th straight win, earning him his 7th Rookie of the Week award. And mind you, it's just the 11th week of the season.
The thing about Coop, you learn as it goes on, but also he just keeps getting better. And he started off the year great, but he's hit just a new level of what he's doing. I don't know how many guys I've coached, but he's as good as any of them in terms of wherever you put him, he's going to do something really good.
And he just turned 18 about a month ago.
You know, he still should be in high school. So for him to adjust that quickly as an 18-year-old is as good as I've seen.
The Blue Devils are currently the second-ranked team in the nation. And based on betting odds, Flagg is the favorite to win the National Player of the Year award. But for him, he's just living out a dream.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a pinch me moment almost every week at this point. I mean, this was my dream growing up my entire life, to be in the position that I'm in right now.
And inspiring other Hoopers from all over New England to do the same.
And to a lot of kids from Maine that might be in a similar situation to what I was in growing up. It's easy to just not believe in yourself or just think you can't do it, but just want to keep proving that it doesn't really matter where you're from, that as long as you just stick to it and keep working, you can make anything happen.
From Chestnut Hill, I'm Tyler Cruz, ABC 7 Fox 22 Sports.
All right, a lot of fun down there watching Coop play. Hopefully we'll get to see him next year in the league. We'll transition to the ice now, where Maine men's hockey dropped points this past weekend when they hosted UConn. Maine lost to the Huskies in regulation on Friday, and they salvaged an extra point in a shootout win on Saturday. Giving up third-period goals has been a problem for the Black Bears in their 5 losses and their 3 ties. They gave up the game-winning goal against Denver with seconds remaining a few weeks ago, along with 3 total UConn goals in third periods last weekend. Some may assume it could be an effort problem, but head coach Ben Barr says that is not the case.
We're not struggling as far as how hard we're playing or anything like that. In those moments where the game is on the line, there ends up being a little bit of a panic right now. It's happened a couple times, and a lot of times it's off face-off, so it's just like a 1 or 2 second situation. And unfortunately for us, it's cost us 3 goals at the end of games and 2 ties and a loss.
All right, Maine has a bye week, so no games on Friday or Saturday. That is all the time we have for sports. Here's Chase Ropenack with your full 5-day forecast. Chase?
Thank you very much. A very cold start this morning in our region. We saw 13 degrees below zero with those mostly clear skies and calm winds last night. And if you check out in Clayton Lake up north, 22 degrees below zero is how you started off this morning. Thankfully, those winds were calm. We didn't have really any wind, so the feels like we're right around the same. But we see those high temperatures for today back above 0 degrees. 18 degrees is what we saw here in Bangor. Lots of low 20s and upper teens in that southwestern portion of the state. But if you go up north again, Clayton Lake, you guys are the cold spot for us now. We see 6 degrees for your high for today, so single digits is what you saw for highs. But we're going to do it all over again tonight. Clear skies and very calm conditions. We'll be seeing lots of negatives out there across the state. Expect, the monitor is showing -8 here in Bangor, but we had the same issue last night. We're going to be seeing right around -15 degrees, actually. Clayton Lake showing right around -5. You guys can very likely, again, be back near -20 degrees for tonight. Lots of areas will be in the teens below zero once again for tonight with those mostly clear skies and calm winds. All right, so for tomorrow, those highs, we're going to have some increasing clouds in the afternoon. Right around 14 to 16 degrees is what we'll see here in Bangor. Close to 20 degrees by the coast once again. And yes, you will see some single digits up by Clayton Lake for highs once again going into tomorrow. So the average high right now, 27 degrees. We'll be getting close to that throughout later on this week. Friday, that high right around 25. We'll be having some mostly sunny skies then. Sunday will be right around freezing, so well above average, 32 degrees then. Then Monday and the Tuesday, right around those mid to upper 20s. So yes, we will see some warmer temperatures coming throughout this week. But we're doing this thing right now where we have very calm conditions at night and a little bit of breeze in the afternoon for tomorrow. Right around 15-mile-per-hour gusts is all we're really going to see. So we'll be lighter than it was for today. But then, yes, once we go into tomorrow night, it will be calm. Once again, cold temperatures are going to be moving in every night with those calm conditions and clear skies. But we do have some systems on the way where we could see a little bit of snow. But out there for right now, just an increasing cloud cover for this afternoon. It was for a brief amount of time, and we're going to start to see those clouds go away, bringing those mostly clear skies out once again for another cold night. But as we go into Thursday, that's when we have some increasing cloud cover, and it's for, some chances for some snow here in our region as well. Here it is. We can see those increasing clouds, and then Thursday afternoon, that's when we'll have lots of scattered showers all across the region. We will see that here in Bangor as well, coastal areas, and all the way up north near Clayton Lake, where the temperatures are very, very cold as well. But for tonight, here is our low, 15 degrees below zero, mostly clear skies, and it's going to be cold. So the winds out there very, very calm. That is why those lows are dropping that far down below zero. But highs today right around 14 degrees, increasing clouds. Other than that, northwest winds right around 5 to 10 miles per hour throughout the afternoon. All right, so here is your extended forecast. A little bit of snow on the way with temperatures rising into Thursday. We'll see the low 20s then for highs, and then going to Friday and Saturday, mostly sunny skies, highs right around the mid-20s, and then back into the 30s by Sunday with another chance for snow. Beth and Devin.
All righty, Chase, thank you so much.
Still more to come after the break.
For
For great Toyota offers not seen on TV, you could type buyatoyota.com into your browser, or you could simply scan this QR code and give your fingers a break. Buyatoyota.com, Toyota's official website for deals. Toyota, let's go places.
Whether you're hurt by a landscaping truck like this, a work van like this, or any commercial vehicle, we know how to get you the big money you may deserve.
Hurt by a commercial vehicle? Call the twos. We win for you.
When it's time to replace your windows or doors, get the benefits of over 75 years of experience in building product sales and service from Hammond Lumber Company. In-store showroom displays with the latest design trends from top manufacturers. Knowledgeable, fully trained salespeople and in-house design services. A team of certified techs providing service after the sale, and job site delivery from 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. When it's time for new windows and doors, it's time to bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
Come stop by Triple S Tack Shop, 315 Hamden Road, Carmel, for quality clothing and equestrian gear.
Rowell's Garage has been serving customers in the greater Dover-Foxcroft region since 1946. Our goal is not just selling you a vehicle, but also giving you quality service to maintain your vehicle at peak performance. Browse our inventory online or in person. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, we can put you in the vehicle that is right for you. Sales, service, and parts. Rowell's Garage. Doing business the right way every day.
Welcome back. A club in Winterport is working to enhance its community, share a brighter future for all residents, and show others the power of volunteerism all at the same time. Our Jody Hersey has more.
Even a small group of women can make a huge positive difference.
For 93 years, the GFWC Winterport Women's Club has been creating a positive impact in this small Waldo County town.
It's the largest international volunteer organization in the world.
There are 17 GFWC women's clubs in Maine. The local Winterport group completed 35 projects in 2024, funded by the group's 2 annual fundraisers, which are its perennial plant sale and yearly calendar sale.
Some people think we're a garden group, but we're not. But we do all the community plantings in town, at the post office, here at the library, cemetery pots, which really makes a difference in how our community looks.
Other projects the club has helped with include renovating the town's benches, donating to the Neighbors Cupboard Food Pantry, and assisting the New Hope Mid-Coast Domestic Violence Resource Center.
We always donate clothing to their annual clothing sale. We also donate goods for people who are sort of restarting and needing anything, furniture, kitchen supplies, you name it.
Lisa Hansen moved to Winterport just a few years ago and was welcomed into the Women's Club with open arms. She says it's an organization that's truly making a difference in the community.
We all just come together and we do so much. We are always doing something for the community. If there's a need, people reach out through the town, through whatever, and we make sure that need is filled.
In Winterport, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at ABC 7 News, take care and have a great rest of your night.
And for more of your local news, you can join us over on Fox 22 News Tonight at 6:30.
Tonight, the nation's 47th president, with day one promises of swift executive actions. What's set to change and how quickly? Plus, the new extreme fire danger in LA. World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
Hello, this is George Whelan with Down East Direct Cremation. Now, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, from the comfort of your desktop or the convenience of your mobile device, you can summon transport and arrange a simple, affordable, respectful Down East Direct Cremation for your deceased loved one. Just by using the button exclusively at downeastdirectcremation.com. All you need is the location address of the person who has died, their vital statistics information, a valid credit card for payment, and that's it. No need to pick up the telephone, no need to answer a bunch of questions, no need to come into the store, and it's still just $9.75 complete. It's so easy, even I can do it. For more information, visit us at downeastdirectcremation.com or call us at 207-225-5332. Simple, affordable, respectful. The button, only at downeastdirectcremation.com.
Ready to have some fun? Yeah! Somebody's having a night tonight.
I love this wheel! Yes! Weekdays at 7 on ABC.
Coming up, the trial of a Milford man who stands accused of multiple violent crimes gets underway with opening statements and witness testimony.
Plus, in national news, we'll have updates from California where at least 3 wildfires broke out overnight in San Diego County.
And we'll tell you how a mobile unit is bringing preventative care to hundreds of Mainers. Those stories and more just ahead.
This is Fox 22 News Tonight.
It's President Trump's first full day in office, and he's already facing several lawsuits. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones.
And I'm Devin Dagnall. Some of the biggest aim to stop his executive order trying to end birthright citizenship in America. Fox's Caroline Shively has the story.
The chaos from this is going to be immediate.
From Arizona to New Jersey.
This executive order is an assault